What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thanks for checking out this episode. It's been a while. It's been about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's been 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks. I just welcomed our third kid and first baby girl to the world December 4th. So happy to report that.
It was since then.
That's right, since December 4th. Really, well, a week before that, because we were supposed to come in here and record on December 4th.
That's right.
And my wife texted me that morning and says, we're having a baby today. So we had a baby that day. Yeah. So we went into the hospital. Everybody's doing great. Everybody's growing and doing well here into the new year. So.
That's always a fun experience, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's been a
have,
while since that happened to me. I'm an old guy.
Yeah, it's exhilarating for sure. And when we were officially in the zone defense at the Graves house, 3-on-2. Zone D, arms out, because I got a 5-year-old who's into everything, and I got a 2-year-old who's ornery, and now I got a sweet baby girl. So everybody's doing good. Happy New Year to you guys. I haven't seen you since then too.
So. The same.
Yeah.
2025.
So,
right?
Yep. So everybody's doing good, and right at the first of the year, then took off to DC. I'm sure my wife, is thrilled. She would tell you guys.
Just had a baby and said,
"See
you
you later."
Sorry.
4 weeks in, she's a saint. But we had the A.B.C.A, American Baseball Coaches Association conference in DC this year. We have a booth at the show every year where we kind of go and trying to help talk about ways that we help coaches. Ways that we help coaches at Premier Pitching Performance, and we actually launched a new service with that we can talk a little bit about. But it was a cold couple days. It was the week of the snow in St. Louis. So luckily with my newborn, we got in with no issues travel wise, and we got out with no issues. I beat the snow by like 3 hours coming back to St. Louis. So it snowed in St. Louis the next day, or over the night and the next day, and then it snowed in DC the day right after that too. So either way you slice it, we would have been trapped if we were there for much longer. So no, it worked out. But yeah, got into DC, had some awesome conversations with some coaches that we work with some vendors that we work with, talked with some new coaches. It's a fun experience. Have you ever been to one of those conferences?
I haven't. It's American Baseball or America Baseball Coach Association, or
yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I have not.
Yeah.
I didn't know it existed till about 3 years ago.
Gotcha. Well, that's about when I found out it existed too.
Is that right?
I'd never been to one until I was involved with Premier, So
it was. I think Coach Perkins had said something about it. We're talking like, what's that?
Yeah.
So, and that's I think it's an interesting deal. I'm sure their coaches come from every walk. Ilk, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's ages. Coaches obviously are all different ages, but different age coaches, different age teams,
Do you get a lot of youth?
Oh yeah.
Group?
Most of the youth ones are very, local to where the show's being held at, in the DC or Northeast kind of region. But that's why the show rotates. It goes from, a couple years ago it was in San Diego, it's been in Texas, it's been in Nashville.
In Dallas a couple years ago, right?
It's been in Dallas and DC, and next year it's in Columbus, so it rotates around.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. So, we go up there, and so this year actually, we launched a new program offering, basically called Fortify, and some real quick backstory, basically, about how we help coaches. We've been doing a collegiate consulting program for the last 5 years or so, and basically what it is we go take tools or processes down to these schools who are trying to build their own player development systems, schools that don't have a motion capture lab, schools that maybe don't have as good as strength and conditioning resources or whatever, because we know the college baseball budgets are thin. They vary so much from school to school, even within the same conferences, but they can really vary, and typically unless you're at your Tennessees or Texas A&Ms or whatever huge schools, you always feel like there's something that you wish you could do that just isn't in the budget, and that's just reality for college baseball, anyways. Sure. So we go and we take our tools, take some of our assessment stuff, and we help these schools basically either learn how to do it themselves, or we provide the information for them, for some of their training programs. And we've been doing that for 4 or 5 years here now. And, we've worked with some amazing coaches at some really cool schools. The guys actually right now are at the University of Memphis.
I thought I saw that. Yep. Yeah.
University of Memphis. Last week, our guys were we're on the road in Virginia somewhere. And then next week we're going to FIU and Jacksonville State. So all kinds of trips.
Within that, I want to ask you, because, I always I pull up when we're starting getting ready to do different podcasts. I'm looking at different things, and I had just noticed you're looking at the different. I mean, you've got these spots in Effingham. You're up in was it Forest?
Lake Forest, Illinois, Forest. Just outside Chicago.
Up in Iowa, and here you're down in Fenton, and then of course at the Sports Barn.
Mm-hmm.
Do all those guys go to these? Is it everybody from each of those places, or is it specific?
Yeah. So all of those locations are relatively new for us this year. I think the way that we're pushing is I'd love for that to be a spot, that we can all kind of meet up annually like that. We're hosting a thing this year, basically when all the players return back to their seasons in March. We're going to host all of them in St. Louis, so we can all get together type of thing. Because our hardest part about going during this time of year is that, there's so much baseball training going on.
Yeah.
That all the coaches can afford to just take 4 days off and go up there. All the players will be in St. Louis going, or, at their training facility and be like, oh, where's Brett at, or whatever. So, with me not being a part of that, like player development, staff, and we've got a couple of guys who are, more rovers.
I was thinking more of that staff going. Did they all go to Memphis, or is it just a?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. So that's cool. So that's a good question. We have staffs basically that are assigned to the facilities, and then we have a staff that does some help in the facilities, but their primary role is to travel and execute that consulting stuff, right? Okay. So like when they're at the facilities, they're still helping with the assessments, the training, and the programs, but their primary role is to be free enough to be able to travel to those things, especially for our other like satellite facilities that you were mentioning. But yeah, so throughout the last handful of years, we've been traveling around, going to all these different cool schools, and the reason why a school might do that is because of a budgetary limitation that I told you about, or it could be that they are in the process of building their own lab, so they're trying to learn maybe how we do it and expedite their process a little bit. I mean, I'm sure it takes a while to get anything approved at a university, and budgetary hoops, things to jump through.
Whatever it is, man. It don't take a while.
Yeah, it takes a while. So a coach or somebody like that could know or have plans to build a lab, but it's not going to be ready for 18 months. Well, they want to get going with the process and whatever. So we've got cost-effective ways to go and help people do that. And then some people, they know that they're probably never going to buy one, and it's way cheaper for them to have us come there, on a pre and post test type of basis, rather than them, flop out all the money that it takes to build their whole lab from start to finish. So
I that's a curious thing, because we've had conversation just talking a little bit, and Lindenwood you've brought up a couple different times that you've helped with their program over there. Did they build a lab, or do you guys?
Yeah, well, so the relationship that we have with Lindenwood is actually through their exercise performance nutrition lab.
Okay.
We've trained a bunch of Lindenwood players at our facility. We haven't really gone down there, and we've had conversations, certainly, I think, trying to figure out how to make it all logistically and budgetarily like work and make sense. I think typically for those schools that are closer, or smaller, in general, closer meaning like within the Midwest too, not just right here in St. Louis, that makes a little bit more sense that the players that want to do it just come to St. Louis with us to do it during their off times, But no, I mean, that particular relationship is more with the exercise performance nutrition lab.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just about that for anybody that doesn't know about it, that is kind of who we lean on to help do some performance and nutrition data for us for body count type of ways. We talked about previously about how impactful body comp basically is for any type of athletic performance, and certainly true about pitching performance too. So like while we don't have a lot of those big performance or nutrition, data capture systems, they do. So when we have players that are looking to maybe dive a little deeper on their body comp, that's a resource for us, and then we help them with like some of the research and studies that they're trying to perform. So that's more of like what the Lindenwood partnership looks like. Yeah. But
it's an R&D kind of situation.
It is, it is. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we always got irons in the fire there, but we should be. I think one of our core philosophies is to just like continually be learning. You know what I mean? Like always trying to be learning, and we talk about it all the time. If we're not using that data, then it's no good to us. You know what I mean? If we're not using it to make us better, like if we're just using it as like a marker where somebody's at, we're not taking full advantage of it, So back to the colleges, the support of the colleges, I think makes a little bit more sense to you and anybody else now. So what we did with Fortify now, okay? So I'm going to break these into some tiers real quick for you. This top tier has the budget, and they don't really need our help. They got the money, and they can hire somebody basically to do what we do. You got a middle tier of people who want our help. I told you all the different scenarios maybe that someone might do it for. And then you've got a lower tier that like wishes like heck they could do something like that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard man, yeah, I mean, that sounds great. It's just like, no way. And for people that don't know or understand, like there's people in programs, and this is how tight some of the budgets are, that like they're worried about being able to get Jimmy John sandwiches for the boys if they go far enough in the playoffs,
Right.
So us to talk about a lab bringing it down is like, man, you're just like, it's just, I'm sorry, but like we just don't have the budget
just
to do
buy
that.
lunch for the guys.
100%. If they make it far enough into their playoffs and World Series, like, they're always doing like fundraiser things like that and camps and whatever. So what we did is we took all of the things we've been doing and what we've learned about that, how we can help coaches in the kind of college realm, and we made a remote based version of it that's video and remotely assessed. That's way more cost effective, because that was our way of like, well, leveraging some of our time that maybe we're spending elsewhere to create a product. And Nolan Rapay is a new employee at Premier Pitching, and he's got an excellent PT background, rock star of a human being, the smartest baseball movement guy I've ever been around, no doubt. Awesome asset for us and person to have. He actually started this on the side of his PT job, so we got connected and obviously have a lot of things aligned there. So he's actually brought this concept to me a year or two ago, and now we figured out how to put everything together. Now he's on staff with us and he's doing this full time now. So we're taking kind of some of that concept, building it into a little bit more of a software package, and so we rolled that out at A.B.C.A, launched it, talked to a bunch of people about it, posted our social media videos and stuff about it, trying to educate people about what it is, how it helps, and had a ton of like fantastic conversations about it. So it's a remote based performance system that helps people get quality arm care information, strength and conditioning information, and mobility and corrective information, because I feel like everybody that plays baseball is starving for some information like that. And there's information everywhere these days. You can go on there and Google right now, like baseball workout, and you're going to get 100 different hits, so this is going to be a model for us that's super cost effective, like it's $100 a player for the entire year type of thing. We're like, yeah,
that's reasonable.
Absolutely. And we wanted it to be that way. So like your junior colleges, that the coach is a full-time teacher and trying to figure out how to make it over to practice, like they're trying to do the best they can and give these guys, performance and weightlifting information. And we obviously recognize it as a huge gap. So we tried to take something, make it like feasible for us to actually operate. And a lot of it is pre-programmed that these assessments or measurements that we're going to take through the videos, are, linked up with certain types of drills or exercises you should be doing, and you can go categorize somebody in it. And Nolan does all this, for the coaches, categorize somebody with it, and there's your more like individualized specific training program that you should be doing based off of your measurements, an individualized based, training program. So
It's curious, and it just kind of, as you're talking about these things, Brett, the one thing that's curious, and it struck me, is like you're looking at through this lens of where you've been, and you've even said, even at Major League Baseball, some of this stuff has just been more new, even with that. But trying to take that level and bring it down into a situation for a high school, a college, a small college, and whatnot. Because I remember, my son, they were going to the University of Iowa and being parking lot attendants to raise money to buy jackets.
Yeah.
Right?
No doubt.
So to feasibly figure out, I mean, how difficult has it been to try and create different thought processes to bring information down into that and keep it cost effective?
Yeah. Well, it's all about systems, like all the work on all of these things is the pre-build, I'm thankful for my experiences. I've got to see and use some really good tools.
Right.
I've got to see like what a player development dashboard should look like from a major league level. So a lot of my motivation these days is just problem solving for people who are at a younger level that I already know what problems they're going to run into. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And if I don't, then surely, the problems that a, player of any age would run into now, my thought is, well, 2 years from now, I'd love to have something that has less kids go through that problem, and like ultimately that's what Fortify is, like we want less players to have, a lack of individualized access to individualized training programs that could help them kind of on down their progression, their development, down their journey, like a little bit faster. Cause essentially that's what the goal of it like would be, and at the end of the day, like I'm trying to solve problems for people, and trying to solve them before they exist for people, and I have fun doing it. I have fun doing it. I think, our coaches do a really good job of like maybe implementing, a lot of the, day-to-day strategies that,
Sure.
I have the time to maybe think a little bit more bigger picture on some of those things, and ultimately that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
How much did the A.B.C.A. and, were you guys, taking information, talking to coaches? Is that part of the process? Are you asking them, what do you see within these processes? Talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, at A.B.C.A., there's a ton of conversations that go on for sure. But I mean, shoot, we are all like constantly texting or calling people who are outside of our landscape to get their thoughts on XYZ. Because I think especially like, some of my top full-time employees, the reason they're a top full-time employee is because they're just so hungry to learn and make themselves better that they put themselves in that type of category, So yeah, I mean, on the way here, I was texting with somebody about a concept, like I've got a phone call tomorrow about one of these tools we'll talk about here in a second, about how to make that one better, like, and essentially what we're trying to do here, big picture, this is kind of where we were steering this conversation anyways, is, a lot of what we're doing to try to help these coaches. Fortify is a new tool that we built, into this, for people to use and utilize, but we're trying to build this like huge player development dashboard that helps people learn how to be better coaches, helps them kind of on a day-to-day basis make an impact in their players' training programs, how to collect and consume the data to make it make sense to them.
Sure.
And then all these other tools that are just like, if I could explain it as simply as possible, it's just things that we did in pro ball that like might have just been on somebody's piece of paper or might have been in some coach's head, or it's just like what we knew to do because somebody had kind of built it before that. And I'm just digitalizing a lot of it. Like none of it's like really to me or to us is not really that earth shattering. Seriously, it's just about maybe more building a system so that it's color coded and you can click on something and get an explanation on something to get people more access to professional like player development strategies, so that the stuff that I felt like I didn't get till I was 25, I hope that there's 15-year-olds that come through and they're like, dang, this is awesome. And that's like the motivation behind it, you know? So yeah, I mean, so this player development dashboard that we've built, you know, it's our app. It's called Boost. We've talked about it a little bit before, you know, and we're continuing to develop so much through it, building so many other tools into it. You know, like I said, the goal is just to affect coaches and players on a day-to-day basis, like with it. That first and foremost, it was built just to help serve our coaches at our facility in Winsville, you know. And I think the point we got to with it was like, well, dang, this would actually help a lot of coaches, you know. So obviously it's you know, one of the first things, because it already existed, was to, you know, have it impact our colleges that we support, and we've, you know, been making moves to do that. And now this year, the sites that you were saying or suggesting in Des Moines and Chicago and Effingham and Fenton, and, you know, I just brought another one on in Highland, and you know, I'm about to bring some other ones on that I was telling you that maybe I'll save for later, that, let them get official, let our social media team get the buzz of putting that out there first. But we got some coming that I think coaches are seeing, and you know, hearing from us and looking at some of the resources that we can provide to them, that you know, they look at it and they go, wow, yeah, this would be a huge impact on my day-to-day life and the way I can you know, help my players. So a couple of the tools, let's talk about them real quick. You know, like first and foremost, we put in an in-season generator. I call it in season, right? Like the logo for it is INSZN, right? It's an in-season program generator. Okay. And basically what you do is you're a player during the season and you pitched last night. You know, it's, what is it, Wednesday? So you pitched on Tuesday. You're going to go into that thing and you're going to punch in, you know, the date. You're going to punch in how many innings you threw. You're going to punch in how many pitches you threw. And you're going to punch in the date that you think you're going to pitch next, you know, or that coach might have told you you might pitch next. And then it automatically pops up color coded, you know, like, well, tomorrow do this and the next day do that. Tells you when to throw your bullpen, tells you when to throw your long toss, tells you when to do your lifting, tells you when to do your sprint work, like all of that stuff in there. Now, you know, it doesn't tell you what to do, because that's where the individualization of the training comes in, right? But the timing and the rhythm of when you're supposed to do it to help balance the workload for players, that's what people do during the season to stay healthy. You know, it's the periodized scale. And most of the time, you know, you've got your players that don't work hard, and I'm going to put them aside for a second,
well,
right?
But I think to that point, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I love that thought process because it brings the accountability to the player.
Yeah, and like you not knowing what to do now is totally out the window, right?
Right.
So that hardworking player too, most of the time, and I was this person, you know, like you got your hardworking, dedicated player who is probably going to do too much, because you got your player that you need to kick in the butt and you know, pull the reins back. You know, you got those two different guys. Right. That's why I'm saying maybe put the kick in the butt guy aside for a second, because he's probably not super impactful for your team anyways. But what about the guy that is, and the coach that doesn't really have the time or the means or the understanding to periodize a schedule all out for him? Well, this tool is meant to help him maybe navigate some of that, so he wants to throw, you know, he wants to throw his long toss in between his outings. He wants to get his lifting in. He wants to throw his bullpens. You know, like I've seen it and I've lived it, where like if you don't really know how or when or where or why that you're doing some of those things, you can run yourself in the ground pretty easily. You know, like thankfully a high school season is as short as it is, because, you know, because you can kind of go through even a college season, 56 game schedule. You know, like I didn't really feel the sting or the burden of this until I got to professional baseball, where I remember my first summer of professional baseball getting to like July 1st, and it's like I already had 13 starts, and the year before that I only had 13 in college, and I'm like, dude,
did you hit a wall?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, the wall hit me. The wall hit me, certainly. And, you know, so July, August, like we got how many months left the season? Like I'm already dog freaking tired, you know? But I was that guy, you know, I was that guy. I was doing way too much too soon. Thought I was going to like work hard to the big leagues, and that might blow some people's mind. It was like, well, what, don't you have to work hard? Well, yeah, I mean, that's the prerequisite.
You have to work right.
You have to work smart. Yeah. Eventually, you know, like you get into this point to where it's like, you know, just, you know, lifting the stuff that a high school player or a college player does to be successful is like not really what you have to build on it, you know, and it's not just reps and time. Like you don't just keep working harder until you get to the big leagues. Like working hard obviously is a prereq for success, but then once I work hard, like there's only so much more you can do. Like spending 4 hours working out instead of 2 hours working out in my off seasons like isn't going to do anything to you. It's actually going to be detrimental, diminishing returns like after, a certain amount. So
I think it's interesting too, and we talk a lot about this with young players. It's something I talk to my own son about, about developing relationships. And if you've got this information, if you're a player, you have your high school coach. A high school coach more than likely is teaching. They have their schedule, they have their things. They're trying to get there. They're making sure everybody's doing the things they need to do. This, that. I think it behooves the player if you're on a system like that, taking the time to get with your coach in the off season. Look, I'm working on this. This is what it is. Here are these things, and making sure you're having that conversation on a regular basis with your high school coach, so he's aware of the things you're doing, and having that constant communication. It helps him understand. Where you're going. Hey, we know we can do this, and keeping that rapport. Correct.
The players that do it the best are typically the best communicators. You would probably sandwich in and say the hardest workers and the best communicators, because if they're a really hard worker, they're just not getting a complete picture of it. Like if working hard and communicating well is like an A+, then working hard is probably just like a B. You know what I mean? That's how important the communication aspect of it is. And communicating with the right people, associating yourself with the right people, and, taking information from the right people. And because I think you have to have a good filter as a baseball player too, because the minute you have any type of success, you get 12 different people giving you their opinions on what you need to do, what pitches you need to throw, what your delivery needs to look like blah, 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 So I think like having some wisdom of like who you confide in, who you trust, who you take information from is important, because not all information is good information, like
Agreed.
Not that it might be bad either.
I understand exactly.
Well, I don't mean it just might not be right for you right then.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. And I think a lot of people, I was this, I was, wanted to work hard. I wanted you to tell me everything you knew so I could go and try to put it into my routine, my life. I wanted to learn, but trying to take everything and put it into like what you do is like not the way to do it. You know what I'm saying? I'd watch videos, I'd listen to people, like every new environment I got into with like a new coach or whatever, I was like, teach me something, like, come on, and wanting to pull out as much information of it as I could, which all sounds good and sounds fine. But I think at times maybe I lacked like a trust maybe in what I was already doing that got me there, or confident in enough of like, I think bigger picture, it stemmed, some earlier years of maybe not knowing exactly what I did well or who I was as a pitcher or what I needed to do to get my outs.
Sure.
That like I was searching for answers in spaces where I didn't need to be. So you definitely got some scenarios like that, for sure. So
when you're looking at this dashboard and you're talking about, a high school player, you're talking about a kid that I'm just talking high school.
Yep.
I understand the collegiate, everything, the next step's always a little different, but I guess maybe not to a degree, because this just popped in my head as you're talking through these things, because I was watching the deal about Tim Lincecum and, his body type and this thing. When you're talking about the dashboard, do you think about body type? Do you think about those types of things? You talked about
100%
body composition and whatnot. And how does that factor into this?
Into the dashboard specifically, or the training protocols?
Does that either way?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So there's a ton of, during the assessment pieces of it. So inside this dashboard has got assessment processes and assessment, like data capture protocols and things of that nature. It's basically got our whole script right there. And a piece of our script, obviously, because we've talked about how impactful we know it to be on athletic performance and pitching performance, is that's in there. I think body comp goals are more, discussed and noted down in there, for sure. But I think what you do in your training program after that kind of depends on all of the data that's gotten put together, plus your injury history, your goals, and your time of year that you are, kind of go into maybe, well, what do we do next? What do we do next? Because you're not gonna like really change up some huge dietary things and mechanical things and approach things in the month of June when you need to be playing well. Like
Right.
you try to make those big changes like that, and dietary might be a little bit different because it's the fuel of your engine, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of people who, body comp wise wanted to lose a whole bunch of weight. Lance Lynn lost all that weight that year and then got hurt and was like, well, shoot, I didn't like this, and put the weight back on, and then like carried on with his success in the big leagues. Like, so
His diet was Krispy Kremes.
Yeah, I don't know what his diet is, but it works. So you keep doing it, buddy. So
Whatever.
yeah, he amazes me too because of how many fastballs he throws in the major league level and still gets everybody out. But no, in general, yeah, it's super impactful, and there's definitely like data input, like places to put things in there like that for that. And I think maybe what we're trying to do with Fortify is take what we know to be true, like pillars of truth that we know in that, and like when it is methodical, where it kind of is, well, if it's, data points like this that, suggest he needs to be doing more training programs like that, then trying to get to delivering a program to those players quicker, more efficient, less time, less expensive, and I mean, that essentially all those things kind of fit together, so that in-season tool is I think going to be really, so all of these tools, they're either getting put in like right now, or they got put in like the fall, and this is going to be like our first baseball season with them all in there, everybody using them, done testing them, so I'm excited to see them, so this coming up this year, in-season's done. Fortify, it's not built into as a full-scale tool of what we want it to be long-term, but it's included in there. We're putting in a workload tracker right now. It can do probably a lot of different things. At the end of the day, I think it's a good, think of it as like a throwing journal.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It does a lot of other things,
Can you write in and say, I threw terrible today?
Yep. You can leave notes like that. You can leave scores on how your arm is, so it's color coded. So your coach that's responsible for you pitched yesterday and we're having this talk about it. Well, I can go straight into your profile. I can see the notes, how you felt about the game. So it helps our conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, like, I don't get to see you every day. I don't get to come to every single one of your games. You train in my facility all off season, but then you actually go out there and play your games. So there's a disconnect. So we're trying to like build tools like this to help like close the gap of communication, because we know how important that is. Absolutely. So, there's little reports on there that try to keep you within certain parameters, so you're not throwing too much and you're not throwing too little, and you're kind of staying in the sweet spot, of kind of like these red lines that keep your workload in check. But basically, it's a journal entry. I used to keep a journal about pitches and innings and how my arm felt, and like that's what it is. It's a digital way for all of these kids to have a resource like that they can log it and then spin it right around, and the coach, as they follow up with it, because truthfully, sometimes like you pitched yesterday, the coach, for whatever reason, you guys didn't talk about it the next day, like, and then I thought at 5:00 that night, oh shoot, like. Brian pitched this morning, let me go look at his profile real quick, and then if it was bad or sideways or you weren't feeling good, we definitely got to talk tomorrow. But if it was good and you're busy and whatever, then maybe okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just get a better idea. Right. Yeah. You get a better idea of how everything was going. So, so that tool, we're trying to do a few more other cool things with it, like program simulation type of things. But that's essentially what it is.
As I'm listening to you talk through this whole process, the one thing that keeps coming back, I'm this kind of guy. I say this a lot. You can ask Drew over there. It's something that I've said for a long time. I believe that consistency breeds success.
Yeah. Amen.
And when I see what you're talking about here, you're trying to develop the player into a consistent individual.
Yeah, no doubt.
Being consistent in what you do, how you do it, how you prepare, how you, I don't know what on the backside, you're preparing, and then on the backside,
execute.
Execute. And then you repair, I guess,
Yeah,
for lack
recover.
of a better
Yeah,
recover.
yeah.
There you go.
Mhm.
So the consistency in that, I
Yeah.
think this is really a great
No
tool
doubt.
that's going to help you
No doubt.
become more consistent.
Yep. If you pay attention to any of our media, marketing, social media stuff, that's one of our biggest like brand messages we try to put out is like how impactful your consistency is going to be on your, big picture success. You might have a successful game this week or a successful outing this time, but like
Right.
you zoom out and look at 6 months or look at a year or look at your high school career, it's all going to be about how consistent you were able to be. And I think what a lot of people don't maybe understand is that like that's not just a physical consistency either, it's a mental consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're suggesting, I think, is maybe more of the mental consistency aspect of like being dialed in with your routine, putting your data in when you're supposed to put your data in, talking with your coach when you're freaking supposed to talk to your coach, well, then and this is
I
human
agree.
nature. It's
It
human
is,
nature.
man.
When I throw 5 innings and punch 10 people out, I'm good. I don't need to talk to you. Like I just did a good job. My brain's clear and free, and I'm good. But when I go 1 inning and walk 7 guys and got pulled out of the game, then like, oh my God, we're going to talk for an hour after that, So being consistent in your rhythm of that is important, And I think ultimately, if I could sum up, we've got another tool coming, a game chart that's basically a glorified, it's a pitching coach's chart that helps. You can sit behind home plate and track where the pitch was, execution, where the pitch was trying to go, and then where you actually threw it, your strike percentage, ball percentage, 1-1 conversions, 3-ball counts, all the stuff your pitching coach at the next level is going to want to see and track. And now, we're building a digital way for everybody to be able to track and consume that. But all of these tools, basically my point is all of these tools are meant to help players, but meant to help coaches coach players better. And I think it's consistency even from the coach's standpoint, but consistency for the relationship between the player and the coach. And how impactful that is. And ultimately, with what we've done in the past, with what we're doing right now, what we have access to, what we're building, that's why we've been able to like build on some of these sites that we're doing, right? That's why Chicago exists now. That's why Fenton exists now. That's why Effingham and all these other places that we're doing. It's because we're basically trying to build from what we've developed and seen and learned and know from our past experiences, developing player development systems that other coaches can partner with us, college, private, club, doesn't matter, but they can take that and implement that with their players and improve their player development systems. That's what it is, maybe in the elevator pitch.
No, I like it. I think that's fantastic. I love the consistency part. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Because day to day, I don't care in what you do, business, you're a businessman now, and you've taken from what your playing days. If you're not consistent in communicating to the guys, your vision, your role, what's going on, how do they know how to execute on a daily basis with the players? It's not different.
Nope.
Right?
Nope, not at all. And I think, I'm that's what I think sports are so impactful for. Not everybody's going to get the chance to play in the big leagues or chance to play in college even or wherever. It's not really the point. I think we're missing the point if that's what our main message is,
Yes, sir.
I think the main message is being a, person of high character, integrity, consistency, discipline, like that's what I want my kids to get out of sports, and people who played sports, can be very pushy about sports on their children, and I'm just not, because I think that you can learn that no matter what you're doing.
You can
pick something that you do, and you do all those things well at it, and like it can help teach you that, and that's what I hope for it, but yeah, so when we go up to like the A.B.C.A. or we go to different things, this is kind of the conversations, that kind of go on about, well, what is this and how does it help? How's it help coaches? How's it help coaches help their players? And so that's what a lot of our conversations at A.B.C.A. were kind of centered around, and then obviously now it's spiraling off into, more individual conversations about like maybe how to practically take, what we're doing and plug it into what other coaches are doing. There's no real cut and dry 100% foolproof this is the right way to go about it versus the wrong way to go about it. definitely some like pillars of truth, I think, within that we can support with data and processes that have been extremely successful. But I think if you take a good coach, a person with high integrity, consistency, all those things we were talking about, and you plug them into a system like this, you can really produce a really good outcome, make a big impact for people, and their lives, their careers, their journeys, and teach them those foundational principles. And sure, you're going to have there's fun experiences that go through that this kid's going to, you would have never thought he could go play college baseball, and you're going to, and he did. And you're going to help him be a part of that journey. And then, obviously there's your studs that it's fun to be around and watch them go do cool things, like in pro ball and whatever else, like 100% that's cool. But I think our coaches would tell you, like, I think the coolest thing any coach, could get out of it is that, like, the player that comes in with lofty goals, high expectations for himself, wants to work hard, that to watch that kid, no matter what level it is, I don't care if it's to hit 80 when he's 14 or if it's to hit 100 when he's whatever, like whatever he wants to achieve, that if he goes to achieve it is exciting.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. We were talking to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I asked them what their goals were.
Yeah.
And the one young man, he says, "Yeah, I want to hit 70.
It's perfect.
I said, "Okay, man."
I'm telling you, yeah. And you go to a bat and you like build a plan, and that kid like shows up every day hungry to get better,
12 years old, he's got a goal.
Yeah. He goes out there and does it. It's a lofty goal, I feel like.
It's a lofty goal,
right? Yeah, I mean, so maybe we'll help that guy pick some better goals. We pump some strikes in there. We'll worry about the 70 later.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I love that with the kids, though.
Yeah.
But thinking about that, setting those things, like you said, you got it's a kid's game.
No doubt.
It's a game. It's baseball. I talk about these things a lot, on the podcast that we do, because I think we have to make sure that we prioritize things pretty good.
Yeah.
If you can play the kids' game as long as possible, why not?
Yeah, no doubt.
If you want to play, because as everybody does, it figures out. If you get married, you start having kids, those things, time shrinks.
No doubt.
And your priorities are different, and the things are, and so you don't get as much time to do those. So if you want to play in college and get your education, why not do it, man?
Yeah. It opens up so many opportunities for you at the end of the day, like whether it's getting school paid for or networking, and at the end of the day, think about, I mean, I didn't know any of this when I was 17, 18, 19, like making any of these decisions, and mine was all baseball driven, but on the school side of things and the life side of things, think about what you know now about how many people like look to hire college athletes. Yes. Because of the time management skills you accumulate through that debacle of a life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, just having gone through that, if you can get your school paid for, obviously that's awesome, huge, impactful for families and for, people not to have debt and whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's people out there just like starving for college athletes because they know they're, humble, hungry, and smart.
There it is.
And that they're used to having to be busy and balance time management things and get things done on deadlines even when other stuff is more fun or important or whatever, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those elements that definitely come out of it.
Absolutely. So. Young man, we were over at on the winter workout tour at the last facility we were at. He'd started with that program when he was young, went through the whole program, went to college, played ball, and he's back and he's instructing and coaching and, being part of that. I love that part of it. Yeah, awesome. I think that's fantastic.
Yep, no doubt. And I think the evolution of the person, within through all that is like what every coach is like truly in it for, you know what I mean? And you make a difference in somebody's life. So I mean, that's what our dashboard exists for, to try to make an impact in a coach's life, because we know the coach then turn around and make an impact in the player's life, and that's where we're going with all these things, all these, apps and features and different things that we that we want to do, but it's meant to just problem solve, make an impact in somebody's life. Using our experiences of things that, maybe helped us or keep us more organized, at least, moving forward, that, we're building those things as tools for our players and coaches, and I'm excited, this year, 2025 will be really the first full year that some of those things get to do that, so I'm excited to get some feedback on and hear some success stories and hear the holes they can punch in it to make it better. So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's always, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope, not at all. So, all right, well, that's all we got time for today. Thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys like this content, make sure you drop us a thumbs up down there. Leave any questions, comments, concerns you guys got in the comments. Happy to answer them. Future topics and considerations as well. So thanks again. See you guys next time.